All right, so let's get started. Now, last week we introduced the concept of HTML. We introduced the concept of JavaScript in general, theoretically, and we introduced the how to create HTML files, and that's where the JavaScript, well, the original context of the JavaScript. Now we're gonna see JavaScript in that original context, HTML or the browser, running in the browser, and we will see the execution of JavaScript in the other environment, which is the Node.js. All right. So the first environment is the browser. Okay. So the browser, browser runs HTML files, and these HTML files may contain JavaScript code or may reference to other files that have JavaScript code. Okay. So now JavaScript, the term script, a scripting language, often implies that you are executing the code line by line. Okay, so it's not the same as well, when we say Java is kind of hybrid, but let's say C or C++, it's compiled language. Okay, it's not a scripting language. So what does that mean? Is that the entire file in C or C++, even in Java, the first step in Java, when you run Java compile, the compilation step, it just takes the entire file, reads the entire file, translated into the machine code, and make it ready for execution. Now, Java has an extra step, which is the JVM, or the runtime environment, has an interpreter. So what the Java compiler produces is a script that is interpreted. Okay, JavaScript is an interpreted language, so it is executed line by line. Okay, now similar languages like Python or Perl are scripting languages executed line by line as well. Okay, so when we the first way we learn about calling JavaScript is through the HTML directly. Okay, so any language has some standard libraries. Okay, so the runtime engine inside the the Java runtime, the JavaScript engine inside the browser already have some code written, right? So when you say alert, this is a function. You see, it looks like a function call that you're probably already familiar with. The name of a function, and then runtime features, and then an argument sent to it. So that is a function, actually, that is already written. We're going to learn how to write our own functions, but there are some code that is already written for us and we can use. So we start with that. Now we are familiar with the structure already, right? So HTML is the main tag, and then there's a head and a body. And then we talked about the button tag last week, right? And we talked about how we would be able to add behavior to that button, right? So the way we add behavior to that button is to associate events related to that button with JavaScript code. Okay, so one event that is associated to a button is the click event. So when the user clicks on the button, what happens? So we can specify what needs to happen by setting the value of the onClick attribute to a JavaScript function call. Okay. Now you can notice here there are codes around it, right? As if it's a string. Now from the HTML point of view, it is a string. Now the browser takes that string and executes it as code. But from HTML point of view, this is just an attribute. And this is the value of that attribute. And any attribute value has to be surrounded by codes, either single code or double codes. Now the reason we have two types of code is that sometimes we will need to include codes within, so they need to be nested. Okay, so here, for example, because the alert function takes a string, so we need something to delimit the string that we are sending to alert function, and then another way to delimit the value of the attribute. So either if you start by double quotes here, so we close it with double quotes, I here started with single code outside, so the other string I had to use double code. All right. Now, what happens when we click on the button? This code will be executed, and this is just a small window that comes from related to the browser. So the browser provides this alert window that is that opens and demonstrates the message we sent. So as I said, the codes have to surround the value of the attribute, and then there are other codes that are needed inside the function call itself. Okay. Now, what happens when we actually click? So we go there and click. This is the alert, how the alert window look like. Okay. So the window itself is coming from the browser, not from JavaScript. But the call for asking the browser to open the window is the alert function of JavaScript. Yes.
What did this page said come from?
What's that?
You know the part where it says this page says, what does that get rid of?
So this is part of the alert window.
Oh, it just comes like pre-made, pre-done?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is how it would look like. All right. Now, another way to write code, so you see, this is the first way, is just to associate the JavaScript call, function call, with as a value of one of the attributes, one of the event attributes of an element. Okay. Now, the other way of providing JavaScript within HTML is through the script tag. Okay, so we have a script tag here, and it's not an empty tag, so it needs a closing tag here. And then inside we write the JavaScript code. Now you see here there are two steps. Right now, HTML itself is executed line by line. All right, so tag by tag. So the first script line will be executed. So this will be the result of the first script tag, script execution. And then this will be the result of the next script execution. So we click OK. The browser keeps going, and then there's another script that has another alert it shows. Okay, so we can have these script tags spread all over the page, and we can have HTML code among them. Okay, so we can put in a script tag anywhere we want. Okay, if we put it inside the body, then it will be executed in order. If we put it inside the head, it will be executed once. So if there is an alert, it will be executed once, but it will be known throughout the page. So oftentimes when we have function definition, we put it inside the head so that the definition will be known. But whenever we want to call that function, we put it inside. We can put it inside the body or associate it to an event. Okay. Okay, but if these two scripts are related, we can put them in one script. So the script doesn't have to be one line; it can be a whole set of lines. Okay. So if we need to have multiple scripts executed in different locations, we spread them with different script tags. If you want just one block of code, we can put it in one tag. Or the other way, which is the recommended way, is to take the JavaScript code in a different file with the extension JS, and then link it inside the HTML code whenever we want it to be executed. Okay, so just like we did with the CSS, if you remember, there's a way to have the CSS inside the HTML page, but another way to put it on a separate file and then link it. It's similar concept, but we're not using a link tag. We're using the same script tag, but instead of having the script as the content of the elements, we having the actual code reference through the source attribute. Okay. So this is the same element that we had before. So this still needs a closing tag, even though the contents are empty. Okay. Now, if we added any code inside the content tag while we are referencing an external file, the code inside the tag will be ignored. Okay, so the code inside the content of the tag would be only executed if there is no source reference. All right. But it's important that we don't forget the closing tag. Otherwise, it will mess up the structure of the page. All right. Now, there's a very important distinction here. It causes a lot of confusion sometimes because HTML itself is not case sensitive. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the case of this HTML, it can change the case of any of the HTML code, but JavaScript is case sensitive. So when you say alert with small a, it's not the same as saying alert with capital H. Yes.
Not about case sensitive, but script tag. You know the slide said that's two different type. Can you insert that? Can you like paragraph like multiple lines?
Yeah. Here.
Yeah. Can you just be one script tag and just both from
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. So you can have different. You can have multiple script elements, or you can have one script element that has a block of code. And it doesn't have to be like it can be function definition, like it can be any JavaScript code. Yes.
So you said like if you put the script in the head, you said it runs one.
Yes.
So let's say we put the two the hello world and my world in the head. Does that mean like only hello world? Like what exactly does that mean?
We can try that.
Okay.
We can try that. Well, usually we'll put the function. Okay, we'll try it out and see how it is. Yeah.
If it's in the head, will any of the other page close until you click OK on the?
No. So you see, once the window opens, it just waits for you to click OK. Nothing else happens. Okay. Now, if you need to refer to anything inside the body, you can't put the code in the. I mean, you can't call the code from the head. You can put the definition of the function in the head, but when you call it, you have to call it after the element is loaded. Okay. So we'll see how it looks like if we put the alert in the head. Okay.